Hi, my name is Gary Johnson, and what I'm going to be doing today in this talk is showing you how to use the differentiated resource option of the Doctopus add-on script. And I'm just going to show you how you could possibly use this in your classroom. I'm a science teacher, and I teach middle school science, and already some earlier assessments that I've done kind of formatively have shown me that there's some kids that would benefit from some standard level science labs, but there's also some kids that would also benefit from some more open-ended tasks. So if you look at the titles here, this directed inquiry task is a lab wherein I might have, for example, a procedure a little bit more laid out for students that are quite, still learning like that experimental design skills, and also that has like a little table of information where to put their data. On the other end, there's also some students that, for example, have shown early proficiency in this and might benefit from not having those constraints, and thus maybe, for example, want to make a table however they want down here. So this is a case, and depending on what you teach, you might have certain activities that are scaffolded based on readiness. So what I want to do is show you how to use with Doctopus. And if you've never used Doctopus before, a great tutorial to start you out is this tutorial by Jay Atwood. He's a technology resource facilitator over at Singapore American, and the script was designed by Andrew Stillman. And Doctopus is designed just to distribute documents to students in a way that also gives you a lot of freedom in how you manage them. So what I want to do is just show you how you would do this. I also have a folder that I've made, and I changed this from here to called class rosters. I have different class rosters. I have some project groups. I have some specific classes. But what I have is I also have a differentiated list here. And if you see this, I'll just kind of show you what it looks like from the top. This has like the student name and email. And then I also like this level. And for level, every one of my class starts out at A, but then over the course of time, I look at some of the assessment scores and say, wow, some of these students might benefit from some higher level stuff. So for example, like the student showed some, I thought, really higher order thinking, and so did this student and this student. So you see, there's mostly A's, but then there's a few students, especially down in this class here, where there's some students that might benefit from this. I think creating differentiated resources is good practice. It's definitely time consuming, but what you might consider as your first year teaching, try to create these standard level resources and have some more advanced ones, maybe your second or third years of teaching. So anyways, what I've done, getting back to this lab, is I have all my resources. I have these two files here, these two Google Docs and the spreadsheet in a common folder, and that's really a nice thing when you're working with Google Docs. That's just a key, I think, that makes it a lot easier. If you go into like this, I'll show you here, this is my bread mold lab. And so the lab I'm distributing, you already see like this spreadsheet here, and you also see this doc here and this doc here. So if you've never used Doctopus, you go to add-ons right here, and you go to get add-ons. If you have never installed it, since I've done it before, I'm just going to go launch. First step in Doctopus is to ask you where do you want to get your rosters. If you've already made them before, you can import them. I'm actually just going to build a new roster since I haven't used differentiated resources with this class of kids yet this year. And I'm just going to right now copy just their names and student emails. The levels will come out a little bit later, but I'm just going to copy their names and student emails and just paste them in there. And then once you do that, that'll also be available if you want to use it over and over again. So a couple options here. You can import from G-class folders. I'm not going to do that today. I do have some G-class folders made through Dynamite. I'm just going to hit on this sheet. And then after you do that, you're going to run Doctopus. This cool new graphic pops up. And then a couple of new headings will pop up here, like first name, last name, and email. And you can just copy and paste those in there. So I'm going to do that. And then copy and paste that bad boy down. And voila. And I'm just going to make this cell a little bit bigger here. I'm also going to give this roster a name. Well, actually, it's going to have to refresh it, and then after you do, you can name it. The naming roster is also great because if you've used them over and over, you can just import them so they're basically on file. So I'm just going to call this one here grade 6 differentiate. That's not spelled correctly. Okay, so looks pretty good, and save my roster and continue. So the next step is to ask you what kind of file sharing type, and instead also going back to the original here, the original new version of Doctopus is basically you give the same document to everybody in your class, which for some reasons is often great. It's also usually where most people start. But instead on the sharing type, if you look down here, instead of all the same project groups, I'm going to go to individual differentiated. So what I want to do is I want to create a little code or moniker that some kids will get some documents and some kids will get others. I don't want everyone to have no access. Another reason about this is if you give like everyone viewing rights only, that creates that student's documents. Like for this first student here, her name is Joey. It would create a document for her, but then also creates a copy that everyone else can see. So it takes a long time to run. So I'm just going to say the whole class access level has no access. Also, the students obviously can't edit. Depending on this, you may want to give the students some ability to change the editing permissions. Today I'm not going to do that. Also, if you guys have G-class folders, which I do, I'm just going to click right there so it'll be popped in there. I've also shared this with the person here, so I'm just going to do that right there. You see this little exclude button pops up over here. Okay, so the next thing is going to say choose the folder like holding the assignment templates. And I'm going to go choose folder, and since this is one that I have been most recently working with, this is a little bit weird for some people. They kind of don't know where to select the folder. If you've been working with the document though, then it should pop up pretty quick, and just check the upper left hand box and it should highlight. So I've already have one called Bread Mold Lab. I'm just going to search for it here. Let's just see if it's available here. Here it is. I'm just going to go here and click that and go select. Okay. Okay. So what we have here is by default, and this happens with the project groupings and also happens with the ability levels. Underneath this, you're going to see there's level A, B, C, D, and basically what this is just a sort of default setting. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and delete all that. In fact, I should probably refresh that. But what this assumes is that there's actually a ton of different groups going down from A to V. And in reality, what I have is my groups are basically only A to the letter B. So I'm just going to copy this column down. And Control B. And I'm going to have to refresh this, I know. Let's do this again. So. So basically it's just A's and B's there. Okay, so now what it says is group A and B, and for template file, my A is my standard level. So my A's, I want them to do this lab called directed inquiry, and I want my B's to do this open inquiry. So what I'm going to do is go back here and I'm going to say A's are going to do right here, directed inquiry. B's are open inquiry, like that. And following that, actually I think I have to go back and just refresh this, otherwise it's not going to be able to register. So I have just two groups here. Okay, and yep, good. Sorry, got it. Okay, sorry. I just to go back, and if you ever have problems with Doctopus, and this also is a case of field conditions not met, just like pop back. So yeah, if you see here, it's just change that to A and B. And there's my folder, it's already been indicated, and I want my A's to have the directed inquiry, and I want my B's to have the open inquiry. And now that I've done that, I'm just going to save and continue. I'm almost coming to the end of this, by the way. And the last thing is, okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to indicate how I want this to be named. And right now there's kind of a default naming convention which has like this $ last name, comma first name. It says Bread Mold Lab. And what this is, and depending on how you want stuff labeled, if you have specific classes you can do that. I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm also, oh by the way, before you get into this, also make sure that you do this field first, because if you do a lot of writing here, you'll notice that it doesn't actually let you save and continue. So I'm actually just going to keep the assignment folder inside this. I'm just going to hit choose existing. then pop in here, and once I do that, I'll be able to change how I want the file named, and then I'll be able to save and continue to the last step. And actually, I want to just put all those files right in the bread mold lab folder anyways. So once I do this, you're going to see this is going to change slightly. And do this first before you do all the writing, and you'll see that it's right there, bread mold lab. And so now I want this file to be named, and you can see it says last name, first name, bread mold lab. And if I want to, I could also indicate, like for example, the group. And with a group, I just grab over here and just grab this $sign. And that way there's going to be a little label, bread mold lab, and it's either going to say bread mold lab either A or B. So basically this field here with the $sign means that whatever's in these columns over here, whatever's going to be underneath them, will populate into that for each student. So it's also a way of naming, which is often a huge hassle with Google Docs. Kids don't name stuff the right way, and I'm just going to let them know. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm actually just going to copy and paste also their first name with the $, so that makes it a little more personal. So when students get an email, we'll just say, hey student, they'll say like, hey new, hey Minjay. I'm just going to say that, hey first name, comma, this is our bread mold lab, which will start in 2 weeks, and then sign off. And last thing, save and continue. And the last thing it'll do basically after you have that little personalized message, just to give you like one last little look at it and say, okay, before you send this off, before you run the copy and share, well, how are you feeling about this? And so if you look at this, it shows you the whole class access. It's really nice, just outlaid really nice, and you can also see the personal message. And if there's anything you want to go back and change, like you might say, wait a minute, I might want to go back and change the individual student access level, I'm going to go hit back. But I'm not. I'm just going to hit run copy and share. So it takes, I think with files like this, it usually takes, I don't know, say about 10 seconds on average. These new headings also pop up that you can also use to write personalized feedback to the students and also email them en masse. You could also, with the project features of normal Doctopus, you can refresh the last time of edit. You can see when the last time kids were working on this. You can also, for example, embed rubrics, or called Gubrics, which are dynamite, and there's also some great online versions of that. So I think this is a good place to sign off, but you'll see that Doctopus is sending out these files to these students, and there's a little hyperlink right here, so I can just click on that, and that way I don't have to go into my drive and do 10 clicks to find student documents. All these documents are in a spreadsheet. It's just one click away. It's super, super easy. Doctopus is a dynamite tool, and the differentiated tool is great if you want to meet the mixed level abilities of learners in your classroom. So hope you guys enjoyed this hack, and have a great weekend.